Thank you for staying with us. The electoral system of any given country plays a fundamental role in sustaining and shaping the political conduct of its citizens. Although many describe the 2023 general election as the most peaceful, it still had loopholes which questioned the credibility of Nigeria's electoral system. The electoral body, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission, may also need to improve the electoral process to gain back the trust of many Nigerians. Joining us in the studio is a UK solicitor and public affairs analyst, Femi, Aina. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Compliments of the season.
Yes, same to you. Thank you.
Right. When you look at our electoral process, our system, and all of it, what really is the challenge?
The challenge, so many. And I do agree with those who are asking for reform. There's the need for a root and branch reform of the whole electoral process or processes in Nigeria. And it appears that anytime we had an election, things just nosedive and move from bad to worse.
Really?
Look at the 2023 election. Up to now, cases are still pending in court. And if you give yourself the benefit of hindsight, what of the number? Look at the number of cases still in court. We had the inauguration, was it not in March? And up to today, some of the governors are still having their victory, being challenged left, right, and center. Now, it begs the question, is that the way to go? You see, when you talk about electoral reform, it's about public confidence in the system. And it still boils down to what you call having a free and fair and credible election. And in Nigeria, I want you to give yourself that benefit of hindsight. We had the ways when President Yar'Adua was there. He set up the Justice Uwais Electoral Reform Committee. Yeah. President Buhari set up the Namani Electoral Reform Committee. Despite, we are still where we are. So something is not right. Because, you see, public confidence in that system is very essential. And in the long run, it will aid democracy and it's going to aid development. But we have this issue where the winner and the loser, and nobody is ready to give way. And everybody is complaining. Nobody is saying we don't have the law and what have you. And when you are talking about electoral reform, what it boils down to, there are three applications. One is rule making, rule application, and adjudication. The rule making whereby you have the committee set up and make recommendation. That recommendation goes to the National Assembly, eventually it turns out to be the law. Then the rule application, that boils down to the umpire applying that law effectively to make sure that citizens are not differential size. However, dispute is going to crop up. Once that disputes crop up, the court must be there to adjudicate in an impartial manner. But there are a lot of issues which is wrong. Now, the next election is 2027. Now, is this the way whereby, as of now, rather than preparing for the future election, we are still dealing with disputes arising from the 2023 election? So it is very important. We have a robust reform, and it is very important also for institutions to work together so that Nigerians will have a credible leader. Nigerians will have the opportunity to choose a leader of their choice. Because what is going on here is very disturbing. Number one, we don't even know who is choosing all these elected representatives. Is it the INEC, or is it the people? Is it INEC, or is it the court? Because you have this situation where judges are sitting somewhere and saying this person should be the governor, this number of votes should be deducted from this and that. That is not the right way. If we have a proper internal democracy, maybe the number of cases going to court will reduce. And the problem is this: the moment from the party primary, that is where, from that moment, That's where the problem will start. Because number one, you may have godfather imposing a particular candidate, and that will cause a set of disputes. Matters will get to court. While they are still dealing with that, we will have an election. Then people will start making allegations here and there. So the best bet is to make sure that either we have the legislative backing, that all political parties must have a robust appeal panel. And if you don't resource that internal mechanism, you cannot approach the court. If we do that, that will reduce the number of cases we have in court. And that appeal panel must be shared by either a senior advocate or somebody who is well-learned or a retired judge, so that they can look at things in the round, listen and give everybody an opportunity. And let me even tell you, most of these people who are aggrieved, what they are looking for, they just want to be heard. That, look, I'm a victim of an injustice. And I'm going to tell you, if you give people an opportunity to air their grievances.
That's why there's internal mechanism. So is the party stopping them from airing their grievances?
Well, I take your point. But my point is that if that internal mechanism is very defective, then you will have plethora of cases which we have. But if the internal mechanism is very robust and everybody has confidence in that system, you see those, okay, look at the dispute. Now, within that internal mechanism, you are a member of a party. You are not happy. And then you appeal to the party executive or whoever. But the same people who will sit in judgment, they are members of that political party. Some of them still owe their allegiance to the party leader. That is a very defective system. But if you have an independent and impartial panel that will hear the appeal, it may well be you will have confidence in the system. It may well be you will agree with the outcome because you've been heard, you know they are impartial, they are not political, and they are not member. So what I'm saying, the nut and bolt of what I'm saying, is that we need to try as much as possible to make sure that each political party have that. INEC must ensure that before any election, they must ask the right question. What is the internal mechanism you have in resolving disputes? Even organization where you work here, they have a disciplinary procedure. What is the essence of the disciplinary procedure? If you are aggrieved, then you complain. Some people set up a panel, then they take action and make a recommendation. Right. In which case, you won't go to court if you are happy with the outcome. Right. So if that system is
now you mentioned something, if you are happy with the outcome. So yes, it also behoves on the politicians to know how to handle failure, so to speak.
Yes, I know, but you see...
or when matters are not resolved in their interest, they should know how to handle it, because at the end of the day, it will favor one person and will not favor another person.
Yes, I agree with you. But if the system is very fair, if the system is very robust, it may well be the politicians will contend with the outcome. But if the system is very defective, then things are going to escalate. And the problem with most of these political parties is that that internal mechanism doesn't work. And the way we can make it work is to make sure that those who are going to adjudicate on disputes, they are very impartial and they are neutral. If that neutrality is there, it may well be they will abide with the outcome. And that is the point. And everybody who wants to participate in that process or processes must be able to sign a document that, look, whatever is the outcome. You see, let me even tell you something, that if you go to court and you have, there's something lawyers call alternative remedy. If you have that alternative remedy, what is the point of going to court? Number one, let's say you have a problem with LASMA and they have a complaint procedure. And that complaint procedure is very robust. Number one, if I'm dealing with your complaint, I'm going to ask you, what do you want? You can say, okay, I want the money paid, refunded.
Agreement, having an agreement, reaching an agreement.
Reaching an agreement or successful outcome. Now, if you are happy with my recommendation, you won't go further.
Yeah.
Because that system can easily deal with it. And judges who want to hear cases can even ask you that, did you exhaust that alternative remedy which you have
we've
before
seen cases where
here?
people reneged on some agreements reached outside of court, where we say cases are settled out of court or
and then they renege.
But then they renege.
Yeah, that is why lawyers have what they call liberty to restore. If you reach an agreement with you, you sue me for one thing or the other, and then we reach an agreement that I'm going to pay you 10,000 by the 30th of December. If I don't pay, inside that agreement, there is a clause called liberty to restore, which means you can still revive the case. So if that agreement is there and you are not happy, you can still go. What the agreement is this: look, it saves time, it's very prompt, and you want to resolve matter without escalating issues.
Right. So it's back to the individual.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
So apart from the fact that civil society groups, often make a hell of a noise as regards the reason why we need to have electoral reforms, there is no disputing the fact that we've come a long way in terms of reforming our electoral laws and all of that, which you also make allusion to. But I'm wondering why political parties or politicians particularly tend to make more noise when they feel that the loopholes they had seen before the elections didn't go the way they felt it would go. And then you see that they come after the elections to start making a hell of a noise that, no, this is not right, this is not correct. Because before the 2023 elections, general election, we saw that, oh, this was the best, thing that INEC had done after the invention of discovery of sliced bread, or etc. So why is it oftentimes that politicians tend to make more noise than they would do before the elections?
Yeah, well, the reason it's not far-fetched. It's just because either that system there's a defect somewhere, or some of them are bad.
That defects, they felt that it will work in their favor.
If it doesn't work in your favor, definitely you will complain, because some people don't forget.
So how transparent, how genuine is our call for electoral reforms if we are looking for loopholes to work on for our own self?
It will, because the reason being, the electoral reform we are talking about, everybody must have a say, okay? Because if it is possible, because at the end of the day, if you set up an electoral reform committee, there is going to be a public hearing, and that will be an opportunity for those who have been victims of injustice in the past to come forward, and they can make suggestions. But the best way is that, you see, there's something you need to know. Politicians will make promises, because if they don't make, they know some of these promises cannot be fulfilled in a million years. But if they don't make those promises, they are not going to win election. Politicians plot against each other. Those are the nature of politics. If you are appointed as a minister for this by President Tinubu, there's a possibility I'll be going behind, telling the president you are not doing this. That is, it comes within the territory, because politicians have a way of plotting against each other. Let's get rid of him. You know what is going on now? Oshiomhole is saying this. Amosu is saying this. And Oshiomhole said this is how Amosu and the other governor, they all plan against me so that they get rid of me. You see, that comes within the territory. But the question we need to ask as part of the reform, how do we avoid such a situation whereby politicians are spending years and years bickering unnecessarily? How do we avoid a situation whereby a sitting governor is living in a state of uncertainty? Governor Dapo Abiodun, since we had the election, now some people are still challenging his victory. Look at what happened in Kano. Despite the massive turnout, there's still a case going on. Now, when you look at it on the flip side, those individuals, we are all human beings, whether you're a governor or whatever. At the end of the day, there is something within them, that's uncertainty spirit that, look, I'm here today. You don't know what the Supreme Court is going to say tomorrow. Right. You better wrap things up. And if we are not careful, this sort of situation breeds corruption. That is why if we have an electoral reform, whereby if there is any dispute about an individual election, that should be resolved in a very punctilious manner so that they can settle down and face the responsibility behind them. But if they are facing and they are overwhelmed with court cases, he left right or center. How are they going to give us the dividend of democracy? And that is the million-dollar question.
That's the big question. Yeah, we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Just stay with us.
New Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. No need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids. Milo!
Hi.
You don't know when you have bacteria breath, and bacteria may be the cause of it. Don't let bacteria breath get all the attention. Use Close-Up with antibacterial zinc. Close-Up helps get rid of bacteria breath.
Jury, speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world,
breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay, this is incredible. Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate facts from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First with breaking news.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were talking about electoral reforms. We still have our guest, a UK solicitor and public affairs analyst, Femi Aina, in the studio speaking with us on that. Now, earlier you mentioned that if we are to reform our system electorally, we have to deal with the root and the branch of all of these issues. And at the root, some experts have said that the major flaw that we have to begin with, or to deal with rather, is the matter of our focus on money, where people have to buy nomination forms at a humongous amount, whether you're going for senatorial, representative, governorship, and all of that, that we need to begin from there.
Well, you can't. That's another issue. But first of all, it's not even about the issue of money. You need to deal with poverty to start with, because at the end of the day, you can buy the nomination form for 3 million, but at the same time,
they can buy it.
Somebody can, yes, somebody can buy it for you. At the end of the day, what of the people? That's the issue. And if I spend millions buying a nomination form to become a governor, there's a possibility that once I get into office, I will want that money back one way or the other. That is the reality of the situation. And again, once I spend such an amount of money to become a governor, and then you come in my cabinet, you want to tell me what I'm doing is not right, this and that, then there's a possibility I'm going to ask you, did you buy the nomination form for me? Don't you know how much I've spent? So we need to deal with poverty so that if we deal with poverty, it is probable we are going to have the right leader in place. But where people are poor, their choice or the choice to choose a leader is limited in a way because they are not after what you are going to say. Look, Vero, I've been on the field, and I will tell you, when you even meet the electorate and you are telling them, when I get to the Senate, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, whatever, they are listening, but they are not paying attention. Right. But the moment you want to show appreciation for being there, for coming, then you can see all of them raising their head because they are really watching you and they want to see the size of the envelope. And I can tell you, the moment you leave that money, before you walk out of that conference center or town hall, you will see them murmuring, the money is too small. How are we going to vote for this person? Because they know next day, then you see your opponent, the same set of people, they are with your opponent next day. And they can come because they are not after what you are going to deliver. They are not after your qualification. They are after what they can get. And this is being either because of the poverty in the land or the situation in the land. That is something we need to. So if there is going to be any reform, first of all, those who are contesting, we need to carry out a background check on those individuals, okay? Those who are comfortable, are in a they have their business, who is running, it is probable they will not be so corrupt. I'm not saying they won't be corrupt, okay? Because those who are even millionaires, they still want more money. So that is one thing which is very important. And the second, we need to elevate people and make sure so that individuals, they are contented in a way whereby money will not influence their decision as to who to vote for. And also, we need to reform the system so that people, you see, electoral reform is about public confidence and in the outcome. So we need to try and make sure we carry out those institutions. There is a possible joint thinking. And also, when people ask questions, they get an answer. You see, if you want to achieve that, government must embrace something you call open government, whereby if you ask how much did you spend in the last 1 month buying pure water for your meeting, government must be able to tell you this is how much we have spent so far. You see, when citizens are getting answers to their question, there is a possibility they will believe in the system. When citizens realize that the system relating to choosing leaders is a very transparent system, there is a possibility they will abide with the outcome. There won't be demonstration, there won't be riot. Those are the things
the matter is very, very long. One of the longevity of the matter is the fact that other people have advocated that there should be independent candidacy or the candidature of certain people who are willing to run for government, for position. The thing is, if someone decides to sponsor oneself, we know how much the person would have to spend.
Must have a war chest.
Exactly, and deep pockets. So, because of the parties that have, seemingly failed in terms of the ideological push and all of that, do you feel that going the route of independent candidacy is something that Nigeria should also explore, and would that eliminate the problems that we're facing?
No, I think the first thing we need to do is to get rid of the godfathers first and make sure godfatherism doesn't play. Because if you come out as an independent candidate and you don't, and everything is around the godfather, how you are going to emerge as a candidate? Well, you will just, well, that's the question. Will that be possible? Because if you look at the Electoral Act, it's even there already that you can be an independent candidate, but how many people are ready to do that? Because you see, if you don't belong to a party, you are going to spend a lot of money in order to win an election as an independent candidate. And I think I was reading
still
a report.
boils back to the money politics.
Exactly. It still boils down to the money politics. And I was even reading a report that when they did the Otoge stuff in Kwara State, that the party gave them about 840 million. You as an independent candidate, how are you going to match that? Because Oshiomhole, I think he said that when they supported them to get, in order to have a change of government in Kwara State with 840 million. Now, you as an independent candidate, where are you going to get that money? And if I should spend that money to emerge as a candidate, but lo and behold, I'm going to find a way to make that money back. So this is the problem. What we need to do is that this Senate, they need to sit up and make sure whether we are going to make, to reform the Electoral Act. You see, what is the essence of the Electoral? To make sure we have a free and fair election, and nobody is a differential side. But you have this situation, because look at what happened in Kano State. But in the spirit of totality, I belong to the same party with the governor. So I'm just saying that for the benefit of your viewers. That, okay, these justices said, okay, 166 votes should be deducted from the result of the winner. Now, that is their decision, fair enough. But the question remains, what happened to those 166 people? Does that mean they will not have a say on who governs them? It will not have been appropriate. Where I've been and where I come from, where there is an issue of such nature, what you do is to send it back to the empire, so as to make sure those people have an opportunity to have a say. Because some people will believe in the manifesto of APC, some will believe in that of NNPP. Right. So if you said, oh, there is a problem, blah, 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 this should be deducted, then what happened? So that means those people will not have a say. You are now imposing a candidate, another person on them, because and that person may not be their choice. It will have been appropriate to say, look, the best thing is this. These people, we have problem with this result, but go and do the proper thing. And INEC must also, as an umpire, need to sit down and reflect as to where they are getting it wrong. Because if they are getting it right, maybe the number of cases will reduce. You understand? It's not about conducting an election. It is about offering the appropriate leadership and coming up with a result people will have confidence in order to reduce the number of litigations we have in court. Because you see, you may not talk now, but I'm going to tell you, Pharaoh, these judges are getting unnecessarily overwhelmed with all this election petition, litigation here and there. And it's very unfair. There are women who have cases in court. Either they want to divorce their husband, they can't even get judgment. Some want maintenance for their children from their ex-husband. Judges can't look at those cases because they are dealing with whether you should be the senator in Kwara or you should be the one in Imo or whether this person should be substituted in. And these judges are human beings at the end of the day. And it is also important because you see what politicians are doing now, and there is something which all of us need to be very careful of. There are some people now saying, look, let's participate, don't worry. We will go to court. We will take them.
That's where my next question is going. So if we are looking at reforms, how much impact will it make on the attitude of politicians and also capture the matter of money politics that we have mentioned?
If you have a robust legal system, the attitude will change. That's why I said something that, look, nobody is saying you should not approach the court, okay? But before you do that, you need to explore that alternative remedy first, whether you can get what you are looking for without coming up. Because you see, some of these organizations, they have a very proper and appeal system, okay? I will give you an instance. If in the UK, you apply to the Legal Aid Board that you want benefit, they should finance your case. And they said no. They have an appeal system where you can appeal. Once you appeal and the person rules against you, you can appeal for that either to the director. Now, and the director can overturn the decision not to offer you legal aid. Once you get that, what are you going to court for?
So it boils back to the attitude of
yes,
the
it boils down to the attitude of the politicians and those who are coming to the party. You must let them know that the party has a constitution or regulation, and that regulation...
Most of these parties have constitution.
Yes, they do. But the members
right.
don't believe because some of the leaders, they hijack the system. So if the system is transparent and the system is fair, maybe that constitution will work. You see, when you talk about the rule of law, the rule of law is about fair process or processes. Yes. That if you are not happy, there is a mechanism for an appeal to address it. So once you have that, and judges must make sure they encourage politicians to go and explore that alternative remedy before they adjudicate. Because if at the end of the day your appeal can be heard internally and you will succeed, then what is the point of waiting and spending millions in court? And this thing is something we need to address. And judges too in Nigeria avoid what they call fishing expedition. When people bring a case that Veronica is not supposed to be the candidate for this, we say, okay, look at the number of votes. If we can't get her there, let's see whether she's a member of a political party, whether she registered at the right time, whether her name is in the... You see, the moment you do that, you are going on a fishing expedition that let's see what we can use to nail him. And they need to ensure that lawyers don't send them on such a fishing expedition and face the challenges of the case before them and get focused. Because you see, what is going on here is very disturbing.
How would the lawyers eat if they don't go on that expedition?
You are going there.
So during the election, they always tell themselves, let's go fishing. But then, you know, the issues that stemmed out of the previous elections and the just concluded off-cycle elections, a lot of politicians called for the head of the INEC boss, Mahmoud Yakubu, saying that he did this, he did that, he didn't do this, he didn't follow the laws and all of that, as if he was the one on the streets or at the polling booths. They now said that it is very expedient for the president to allow the emergence of the chairmanship or the chairmanship of INEC should be left to the independent body itself. Do you also subscribe to that?
Well, to a limited extent, I do, because at the end of the day, that still boils down to what we are talking about public confidence in the system. Because what if an incumbent is seeking a re-election, and the incumbent is the one who is going to choose who is the head of INEC, there is a possibility people will not have confidence in the system. And for people criticizing Professor Mohammed, you see, look, let me tell you, there is something, you are into this broadcasting journalism, assuming you are into the print media. There is, okay, fair enough. Something is supposed to tell you, you occupy an imperfect position, okay? It's an imperfect position because if you write this story and you favor a particular set of people, they are going to praise you to high heaven. But should the reverse be the case, they are going to criticize you. So it comes within the territory. Yeah. You understand me? Because there are certain things you should know that, look, my position is an imperfect position. There is nothing you do. If I'm a governor of a state, once I give those in Ogun West a road, and those in Ijebu will criticize me, I know it comes within the territory. And as a leader, you must be able to take some bashing, if I could call it that way. People should criticize what you do, and you must give room for that criticism. Because if you don't do that, you won't even know whether you are doing the right thing. And some of them are just not talking. Some of them have something meaningful to say. Yeah. And look, day in, day out, people come, it's written there, if you come to my room, if you are not happy, let us know. Some just want sorry from you. Right. That's all. But if they complain, how do you deal with it? Well, you are still owing me 100,000. But now that you've complained that we don't return your call, this and that, knock off 20,000. They will now lean down and say, thank you, lawyer. Do you get me? So you see, it is if they have that confidence, its ability to deal. Dealing is very important. Don't brush it aside. You work here. People, there will be complaint. Once you don't deal with it, it will go, and one day things are going to boil over. And you have a business to protect. So those who are in leadership position, either as INEC and what have you, Day 2, it is very important because, you know, that man, the professor you mentioned, it's an enormous responsibility to conduct an election in a country with a diverse population and so many issues. So it will get to a stage, you will just say, well, this comes with it. But at the same time, it's very important to listen, and it is very important to address the issue. Because at the end of the day, the Electoral Act places a burden on you to make sure that nobody is differentiated, and at the same time to make sure we have a free, fair, and credible election. Whether even all over the world, you can't even get, there's nothing like a free and fair, credible election. Look at what happened during the George Bush Jr. about pregnant child or no pregnant child in California. And as at the time in California, his brother was the governor of California. And the allegations were flying left, right, and center. So it is very important for those who want to adjudicate just to take the bull by the horn and take a decision that is fair and impartial.
2 questions I'd like to ask. And one, the National Assembly is saying that they're looking to perhaps maybe unbundle INEC, so to speak, because it seems like the burden on them is quite huge. I wonder if you buy into that. And then they are also looking at tinkering with our Electoral Act, bringing in some reforms, perhaps as an improvement from what we have seen with the election just concluded. What do you expect? There are those who do not, who are saying that they do not trust the National Assembly to do much work there because they are beneficiaries of what we saw happen in the 2023 election.
But they are beneficiaries, but at the same time, they're in the Senate on behalf of all of us. So they are not there for their own individual whatever interests. So at the same time, I will look at it that way. But I subscribe to the latter. And that latter is that there's the need. You see, we've had an election in 2023, and there's been a lot of issues that crop up after this 2023 election. Don't forget there has been an issue about whether transmission of results, and there's an issue whether INEC actually follow the proper guidance, their own guidance, or jettison it, what have you. So with that, that is okay. For now, we need to identify those problems, and those problems are what we are going to use for the proper reform in order to make sure that in the next election, you see, there's nothing like a perfect system, but you need to improve on those systems as time goes by, because, you know, society too is even dynamic. So things are going to happen. Issues you don't envisage are going to crop up. That is why legislator repeal law, amend law, make new law. So it is important. There's nothing wrong with that. But the real core issue is that whether INEC has enormous power, what you need to ask is that what is the alternative to INEC? Are you now going to set up another body? What will that body be doing? Okay? Because don't forget, if you look at the American system, you say you are the Secretary of State for this, you are the Undersecretary of State for this, and then by the time you say, oh, this Undersecretary, Oversecretary, Top Secretary, what are they doing? Then at the same time, when you go further, you realize there's a duplication of duties. Okay? So one needs to be very careful. So if we have another body, the only one which I subscribe to, whether we should have Electoral Offences Commission, which will prosecute electoral offenders. Because we need to make, you see, there are some people, their specialty is to rig election. I can tell you, and those who rig election in Nigeria, they don't even rig election. I realized during this last election, they don't even rig the election during an election day. The moment you start saying voters card, this and that, that's when they start. And I'll tell you, there's a lady staying with me. I took her to INEC office at Ota to register. Thereafter, we went there and collected a voters card. Do you know, on the eve of election, somebody gave her another card too in my own time. So how did that happen? INEC too needs to look at some of their officials.
That's right.
Look, I must be sincere to you. There are so many things wrong. If you go for that voters card, I don't know, they will tell you, if you smile, you will not be captured. They will tell you, squeeze your face, because you need to look miserable before they have this. Look, there are so many things wrong with this. They have this handheld devices, and it's good because they supply them in abundance that they will take your picture, but you must not smile. you must look very miserable before you get captured. Now, the point is that, so on the day you are happy, you don't go to INEC office. So I was now asking them that, how do I? They even took my over 4 times before I could get captured because they said I should. Then when I now turned to a monster, that was when
it became a portable. But then there is this verse in the Holy Book, which is the Quran, says that God said it will not change the condition of the people until they change what is in their own selves.
Yes.
So you've said that the people also play a role in not making our electoral reforms, very effective. If we don't change ourselves, if we don't determine that we want to see a better country, we want to do the right thing, we don't want to collect money from the so-called politicians and all of that, will all of these conversations, will it lead us anywhere?
Well, that's the problem, because behavioral changes, attitudinal changes, they are very, very essential
to the success of any reform.
Somebody was even telling me at a point that, look, during election, you make a lot of money. Even on election day, there's a way politicians come, and you see, so citizens too. That is why I said poverty is another underlying factor here, which we need to address. Because honestly, to me, I know
poverty does not mean that you do not have standards. That's
right.
There are people who are morals. There are people who have moral values.
Yes, I agree. You can say that. But when you are poor, when you are poor, that standard is that standard is it becomes negotiable, because a poor person, okay,
thinks of his
stomach, thinks of other things, because you see, you can't have it both ways.
I don't think that's a complete
Number one, no, you can't have it both ways. One, you are hungry. Two, you don't have money to buy food. Then somebody gives you rice. You are not saying, oh, this rice is not up to your standard. Not your conscience, but you are now saying, you are talking about standard. And you are having given you the rice, you are now telling me, oh, it's not spicy enough, you should have
had politicians will say, collect the money and vote wisely.
Sorry?
Collect the money and vote wisely.
Well, at the end of the day, I wish it goes that way. Right. They collect the money and they do otherwise.
We have to leave the conversation here now. We must thank you, UK Solicitor and Public Affairs Analyst Femi Aina, for your time on the program.
Right, thank you
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on the program for today. Let's tell you that the views and reactions of all our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Up next is Your View with the Ladies, and afterwards is This Morning with Nifemi.